Hey everybody, I'm Bianca.
And I'm Latira, and welcome to Melanated Movie Moments. Today is Ladies First Edition, and in today's episode, we're going to discuss two phenomenal women directors and the films that they have presented. One is a beautiful Black woman, and the other one is a beautiful Chinese American. We're going to start with Chloe Zhao, and I believe I'm pronouncing that right. And if I'm not, Miss Chloe, please, I'm sorry, I really am. And we're going to talk about the amazing Miss Regina King. And y'all should know who she is because, I mean, she's Regina King. Come on now.
Yes.
I am going to allow Bianca to begin.
Y'all,
Yeah,
this is her favorite movie. She can't
it's not.
wait.
I'm going to tell y'all it's not at all.
All right, so quick overview: Nomadland, which stars Frances McDormand, who also is actually an amazing actress. If you ever saw like the original Fargo, and she's one of actresses. If you look her up online, she's another one that has like a gazillion movies. You probably could play that Kevin Bacon game with her to guess who you've been in movies with. But basically, in a synopsis, Nomadland kind of explores kind of the aftermath that happened in like this recession that we're still in or just getting out of or whatever, depending on your experience, and people's families. So it follows a woman who has lost her husband. That happens before the movie. Mm-hmm. And works in kind of seasonal, I guess we would say, jobs.
Yes, she's a seasonal worker.
Yeah, and has chosen to, in her words, not be homeless, but to be houseless, or basically like she is choosing not to have a permanent address and is living in basically like her van. That's where Nomad comes from, because she's traveling from place to place. She just packs up her van, and it kind of follows her throughout the course of, I guess, several months, maybe a year. Time got away from me watching it a little bit.
I'm gonna say it was at least a year, because she started a seasonal job at Amazon and she went back to it.
To Amazon.
Yeah. And it was the same season when she went back. So I'm gonna say the movie is at least a year and a half, give or take.
Yeah, and it kind of just follows her journey, as far as she's dealing with a lot. It doesn't seem that she's healed. She's going through a lot of stuff internally. Frances has there's close-ups of her face where you can tell, like when they tell people when they're acting, you actually need to be thinking something in the scene. And there's a lot of internal dialogue that's not necessarily spoken with her character. There's a lot of concern from some family members. Other ones seem to get it. And also meeting the people throughout, like other nomads, other people. And some of the people in the film, which I could tell while I was watching it, and I looked it up during the movie, it was something about some of the interactions that felt almost documentary-ish, even though it wasn't. They knew the cameras were there, there's a script. And I was right, because several of the people she encounters are like playing pretty much versions of their real selves. Like they are actual nomads and are. So and I looked that up too. While they were talking, like I was like, I don't think this is an actor.
Yeah, I looked it up too and realized that 3 of the main relationships that they highlight for her in the movie are based on real nomads. So from what I'm remembering, this is kind of loosely based off of a true story in a sense. It's a fictitious depiction of some actual events, and so that's why those specific characters are pretty much playing a characterized version of themselves, which I can agree with you there. I could see that, like, this seemed a little too real for them.
Yeah, it was very much, and this is where it depends on your movie watching preference, because I will say that overall I liked it. I won't necessarily say super enjoyed it. I liked it, but it was a very meandering, it's the best word I could get, movie. There's not like this defined narrative like you learn in school, and I'm okay with movies breaking this. So I'm not saying this as a knock. I'm just saying as an observation. There's not this, there's going to be this crest, and then you're going to have the rising tension. There's going to be a climax, and then there's going to be resolve. And this kid, like, it doesn't follow that kind of storytelling. It's like you're just following a person through their experiences, adventures, whatever, seeing who they meet. But it's not that normal, like not normal. It's not that typical linear straightforward, like there's not a driving thing that's pushing you forward. It's a very meandering movie. There's a lot of things about shots. It's a character study. But would I watch it again straight through? Probably not. And
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch it straight through the first time. Like I'm really not. What I won't say it is a bad movie.
right.
What I will say is not typically a movie that I'm inclined to watch. However, artistically, I understood the artistic vision.
Right.
Theme wise, I got the themes. There were a number of themes that, like you said, the movie addressed without saying, oh my God, we're talking about grief. Yeah. Oh my God, we're talking about
living in your own terms.
Living on your own terms. Oh my gosh, we're talking about not knowing how to organically create bonds and relationships. Yes. Like, it was a number of themes and I got them, but I could not sit and watch the movie straight through. Like I had to pause it, go grab a snack and pause it and go kind of do something else and come back. So I watched it. I'm gonna say I watched it in like three bites. Yeah. It really did. It seemed so long. Imagine the movie's only an hour and 48 minutes, guys.
Yeah, it did.
I was sitting there like
as long as that trip.
Like I'm thinking it was a 4-hour movie. And I think part of it for me was the fact that it is the story of pretty much this woman on her nomad journey. Yeah. And it was like, okay, but what else? What, like, are we going to get anything exciting? Are we going to get anything that's going to make me be like, oh my God, are we going to get anything that's going to make me, like, there were a few moments where I'm like, oh, that's sad. But it was never, even the sad moments weren't gut-wrenching for me. It was just like, oh, I kind of anticipated this. I thought it was going to happen a few minutes ago, but all right, type thing. But again, artistically, I got the vision. Artistically, I could transport myself into that space and feel what they were feeling.
Right. But they did a good job with that, especially considering I said we have multiple non-actors and the emotion they were able to still bring through was impressive, because people might say, oh, it's easy to play it. No, it's not easy. You see people fail at that all the time. So I will say Chloe seemed to take great attention at bringing serious authenticity, which came across even in some of those scenes where the emotion, like you said, always felt very real in whatever this. I believe the folks having this conversation, whether it was like grabbing my attention or my attention, like I never like fell out of like, oh, this ain't like that didn't happen. That wasn't. But and I did like meandering movie. I'll keep coming back to that word.
Yes. And the one thing I will say I liked about it was the complexity of characters, because once you met a character, if that character came back around, you remembered that character.
That is true. And there weren't necessarily like heroes and villains. People. They were just
people. That's what I'm saying. Like too. It was not enough. I guess that's the word I'm going to use. It was not enough diversity and character personality for me. Yeah. For me to be like, to buy in, but the characters were complex enough for me to know. But it felt like all of them were running, from a tragic experience. And so to pretty much heal from their tragic experience or deal with it or cover it up or however they wanted to define it. Many of them defined it as healing from it. To heal from their tragic experience, they decided to live this nomad life, because for them, whatever the tragic experience was, made them realize that holding on to the material possessions meant nothing, because the one person, the one that, or the thing that they valued most, they lost anyway.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting, because there's the one character, her friend, who house she visited, I'll just leave it at that later, who feels like, it felt like, okay, they're an example of someone, and that was actually played by an actor, but who's healing. Like this journey may be a journey of healing, because it's kind of bringing them back, or he done took this time out and then he's realizing, and I'm not saying realization means you have to go back to that's not what I'm saying, but for this person, there were some things that it felt like, it's opening up, and he's saying, I'm kind of starting to realize, what I want, or I'm starting to realize I still want this connection with these folks, even though I still want this, or I still want that. Like there was some journey. I would say the main character, at least when it ends, it feels it feels very still early in the healing journey to the point of not healing, and it does feel like avoidance in some ways, and you can see that when she's back around, not even so much your family, because I get that scene, because people aren't always going to get you. Some of them, one person supports her, the other ones are kind of picking at her decision.
Yeah,
I'm not going off of that scene.
No.
But when she's visiting the friend and being around that friend's family and kind of enjoying the engagement, but still is like, can't quite
she was out of it,
connect, or even struggled holding the baby at first, but then relaxed into it. I was like, that to me shows there's still like some healing that you've been like you're having trouble connecting to a whole part of your inner emotion in people, period. So we're still very early.
That's what blew me too, because it was like, okay, so we just gonna end it here. Oh, all right. So I was like, okay, all right. Well, I watched it. You did.
You did. So we get the vision. I find it to be beautifully shot. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Does not mean you don't get it, because we both get it and we both have different opinions of it. I didn't love it. I liked it ish. She didn't. But we both get it, because I hate when people in my commenters and all that stuff later too, love y'all, but it's not a matter of you didn't get, we get it. We just have different opinions on it.
Right. I mean, like I said, it would not be on my list of movies to watch.
It's not making your top 10? Not making your top 10?
Definitely not on my top 10. If someone said, hey, should I watch this movie? My response is going to be, I'm not going to tell you not to watch it. But if you ask me if I enjoyed it, I did not. If you ask me if I'm going to watch it again, probably not. But with that, I do think that it was artistically sound. Right. I do think that the acting for those who are actors and those who were not actual actors was amazing. Mm-hmm. Like it was believable. It's a very believable movie. Like I did not watch the movie not believing any content of the movie. It just, for me, was very one note.
If that's the note you like, go see it. And like we said, support it, give it a stream, do something. Even if you're cleaning your house while streaming, go ahead and represent. We need more diverse viewpoints of all kind of ways and directing and everything else. So please support folks. So it's beautifully shot, and I'd like to see more of like that viewpoint and where is it going to go, because like you just said, it's only the third movie too. It's very intriguing to see what other tales and stories will be brought forth and bring voice to movies and stories and voices that really, I mean, I haven't seen a movie that was in the documentary really bring light to the type of some of the tales and the people that was in this film. And I will say that did give a voice.
You know what? And had I looked at it from that lens, from the documentary lens, I think I would have enjoyed it more, but I didn't. You know what? Because if I flip my switch and say, oh, this is a documentary, and I'm watching it from that space, I would have been like, wow, that's an interesting lifestyle. And I would have probably been more engaged. But because it is presented as a feature film, I'm just like, oh. So we're gonna start with talking about One Night in Miami. So to give you some brief background on One Night in Miami, which this is, from what I remember, a fictitious account of what really happened. Yes. One night in Miami, when Sam Cooke, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Muhammad Ali, I believe at the time he was still Cassius Clay.
He was.
Were all in Miami because Cassius Clay, I believe he fought, was it Sonny Liston?
Yeah.
And this is, the movie is about what happened when they went back to the room.
No one really knows exactly what happened in the room, but we know the room happened. The hotel they're talking about happened. The night happened. Like
right. Like we know this happened. We know the events occurred. We know they were all in Miami. We know they were all at this fight. Yeah. We know that they all met up, and at some point in life, their lives intersected, and they were all friends.
Because to me,
and the movie does not present like a biopic or anything. No. It literally is a feature film rendition of a stage play that somebody ultimately was like, this event happened, but I don't know what really happened, so I'm going to make up my own version of events, which is fine because I mean they made up some good events. and they had some great actors. What I loved about this movie was the actors more than anything. I think, first of all, I love that it was not these huge big name people that we hear and see all the time.
Over and over.
I love that it was subtler names. Like, of course, Leslie Odom Jr. We know who he is. Aldis Hodges is, because I believe he was in Underground or something like that. What I loved was the casting for this film, because the chemistry of the cast for me was spot on. And I don't know if they really had genuine chemistry, or if, and I'm going to always shout out Regina King because she can do no wrong. And even if you all had chemistry, it was still because of her at the end of the day. I feel like she just must have given the most amazing direction for them to have the chemistry that they had.
I thought, man, like you said, the acting, the brother that's playing, what I just say, his name was
Kingsley Ben-Adir, I believe.
Such a good Malcolm to me.
Listen, and so the only Malcolm I acknowledge outside of the real Malcolm X is Denzel Washington. But when I tell you this young man, I was like, I'm impressed.
And humanized him very much.
I'm impressed because I never in my heart thought anybody else could play Malcolm outside of Denzel for me. And I was impressed. I was very much so impressed, and would not mind a remake of a Malcolm X with this young man. Mm-hmm. Because he was good. He was really good. He was very subtle. And you know, they always, things that I've read is that Malcolm X was a very endearing man. He was a very subtle man. He was easy to be around. Yeah. And just the mannerisms of this young man were very like subtle and welcoming and warm. And I'm like, I feel like just the things that I've read, that he embodied that. So I enjoyed him. But yeah, I think the film, I thought it was quite funny because in their minds, they were doing one thing and Malcolm was like, no.
When he pulled out that ice cream, I was dead.
And then it was vanilla. And then it's vanilla.
They want to drink, y'all. Malcolm X don't drink, right? My man pulled out this ice cream like he was doing something. And then they were like, well, what flavor at least? He was like, we got vanilla and vanilla. It's like,
vanilla. I was like, that's basic, bro. Like, if I was in that room, I'd be like, Malcolm, can we at least have chocolate? Like,
can we have some syrup? We got some sprinkles in here. So that cracked. I mean, there were some serious moments of laughter and levity throughout the film that also kept it, like, as much as we got real heavy just now, the whole movie don't stay. It goes up and down. There's tension and releases of it throughout. Like, you get to laugh. You get to do a lot of stuff. And that ice cream scene, I wrote down ice cream, LOL. Like, I just thought that
I was like, vanilla, though. I was over it. I was like, vanilla.
Jim Brown sitting there trying. All this was playing him really well. Like, I fool with you guys. Y'all are my, like, I got love for y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and try to enjoy this night because I enjoy y'all's company. But this ain't what I was thinking. But bro,
he was ready to jump ship. They all were.
Yeah, he was a good voice of. He was more of a voice of reason than brother. And not saying Malcolm X wasn't a voice of reason in the movie, but the characterization, Jim Brown was kind of more of the calm, like keep stuff level character in that whole movie. Even though he had stuff to say, it always was like if stuff get a little too left or a little too, he'd be like,
"We're gonna bring them back to center.
Come on, let's focus on what we talking about, yeah." Like.
Yeah, but one of the themes, and I guess I keep going back to themes, one of the themes that the movie highlights, but how the US just did not like Black people. I mean, it's kind of still true, but you know, unfortunately, every person in that room had a target on their back.
Every single one.
And it's sad that even in those moments, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, because in every phase, let's understand, in every phase of his boxing career, with every name he had, he was the greatest. And you will never be able to take that. Jim Brown was the greatest. You will never be able to take that. Sam Cooke was phenomenal. And if he had more time, his career would probably have been deemed one of the greatest. And Malcolm X, for all of the things, evolved into an amazing human being who spoke for people, you know, and it's just crazy that, you know, even back then they were telling athletes to shut up and dribble or shut up and play. And it's like, you know, this is my talent, but this doesn't define me. And I think, you know, with this movie, one of the things, like you said, it was about platform. And I think what the conversation that they wanted to present is that, like you said, all of us have a platform and we need to use it to make sure that people are being treated fairly.
Right. And then who's the arbitrator? And because I will say, in certain parts of the argument, they were, you know, a side I lean towards more than the other. But sometimes I had to step back and think about, okay, but then also we're getting into this, is there only one way to do this? Because in this part, I'll try to leave semi-vague for y'all who don't already know, but one of the characters that's probably catching the most heat for, you know, assimilating or accommodating or wanting to be more intertwined into this white world. There's one character that gets brought up several times. And there's a part of that where on one hand, there are initial parts on the other side of the argument. I'm like, tell them people still. But then on the other hand, there are points that are raised that are true about this character, about things they were doing that another, I'll say celebrity instead, I don't want to give away which one, that some Black celebrities have been unable to do prior to him. That actually also was a big deal, certain ownership of certain things or money being made from things, even as other people were taking it. It was like, no, I didn't get cut out of this. I actually was part of the deal. Do you know how big deal that is? You know how rare that is for someone to have control of X, Y, and Z? You might not think it's enough, but do you know how big of a deal it is to have a Black man that's in control of this, and this behind the scenes? Like, there were certain things brought up. And then there was kind of almost that point of, you might get mad because I want to stay in this other place. And maybe part of it is I'm trying to get accepted. And then maybe part of it is I want to stay wherever the heck I want to stay and nobody gonna stop me. And if I want, like, there's a wrestling of both of those energies.
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, and there's a very valid point that was just saying on some phases, and I'm not saying assimilate or not, but some of that was strategic to be able to get in certain positions business-wise, where now I have certain control that in most times me as a Black man it's unheard of for me to have a say in certain things. So in some ways, I am making some changes by busting this door open and showing you also, maybe the next person can do this. Was it enough? Is it enough? You can argue, but it was like, wait a minute. Now, just because I didn't do stuff like you, and you can have a valid point, don't completely dismiss me like there is nothing I'm doing. And then I was like,
yeah. And then you also look at the flip side of that argument for that same particular character. And it's like, but are you doing it for self or are you doing it for the greater good? And that's where I was in conflict in their debates throughout the movie.
Yes.
I was in conflict with siding with a specific one, because it's like, while you're saying this, it seems very self-indulging.
Yes, and that was the point too. So it was like, and I love because there were so many layers in their argument where you want to tell the side that I was agreeing with more, but then it's like, well, it's probably unfair to say nothing or act like they don't care at all. But they're bringing up some very valid points. Now,
before we keep going, I just want to shout out the writer, who is an HBCU graduate of this amazing stage play, which is now a feature film, Mr. Kemp Powers, HBCU grad. I won't say your HBCU because I just won't speak another HBCU because I'm a Bowie State.
Let me look this up for you, Kim.
I'm joking. I'm going to say it here. Howard University grad. Howard winning this year. I'm gonna give it to y'all.
Howard's having the best year.
Baby hater. But because I went to an HBCU, and we all think our HBCU is the best HBCU. Shout out to Bowie State University, the first HBCU in Maryland. And then let's shout out the historic greatness of the director yet again. And I keep bringing it back to her because when I tell you, let me tell y'all, it may not be Women's History Month anymore, but we still want to talk about this amazing queen, Regina King. Like from 227 till now, like she is still phenomenal.
Her page, you like this, trying to go through.
Yeah, you would just, and it's just like she's beautiful, she's amazing. It's like she has like the Midas touch.
Aging backwards.
And I again, and like we've done in previous episodes, we believe in giving people the flowers while they're here. And we want her and Chloe, listen, because while I am a Regina stan, I am learning Chloe. Watching Nomadland was her first film I ever watched, but she is someone that I will continue to keep on my radar. So shout out to Chloe for being phenomenal, for being great, for being the first. I hope you're not the last. I hate that it's taking so long for you to be the first Asian American woman to win a Golden Globe for Best Director, but I hope you are not the last, and I hope that is not your last accolade. I want to again shout out Regina King, like this being your directorial debut. Like her resume is so phenomenal. Like she the kids from the Boondocks, y'all.
I was about to say, because people are like, for real? I'm like, yes.
And it wasn't just like she was just one kid. She was both of them.
She was both of them. Santa gonna pay what he owe.
She was both of them. So like you could just her work is just, it speaks for itself. But then, and like, again, I love giving people their flowers while they're here. Not only is she amazing, phenomenal, and everything in her own right as an actress, as a voice actress, as a director, she also supports her fellow actors and actresses, because I'm going to tell you, she looked like the kind of sister friend you want, because when Audra won, she ran up on her to celebrate her.
Was excited as can be.
Excited as if she won. And that's what you need. That's why I think that's what makes her glow even more, is because she's always come off and shown genuine support to everyone. And so again, we are big on flowers while you're here. So we are giving both Chloe and Regina,
give them to
their
her
flowers. So make sure y'all keep checking us out. Again, you can follow us. You got it.
Depending on what you're watching us on, follow us, click and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, there's like a little bell or something down here. Click on that.
Got them notifications.
Do all the things. Follow us on your platform of choice.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Melanated Movie Moments. And you can also email us your movie suggestions at melanatedmoviemoments@gmail.com.
Keep the movie suggestions coming. And by the way, they don't have to just be current films. If you're interested in hearing us talk, just drop your suggestions.
Yep. You always can reach out to us in the chat. Give us your feedback. Let us know if we talk too much or not enough.
And let her know that I'm always right. So.
Or not.
But it has been a real one again. Looking forward to seeing you next week, seeing y'all seeing us next week. And like you said, keep the suggestions coming. We look forward. We like the feedback, like your comments.